Yes, people, it's John, it's Michael, back again, and this is your weekly news show. What's going on, everyone? It's us two back again. And this is your new weekly show. Could we call it a new weekly show? Because we haven't called it really this since we've had that intro.
I mean, you call it whatever you want, mate. I mean,
well, I'm calling it the weekly news show, but it'd sound better if it was the daily news show. But the way Everton do transfers, there isn't enough to fill a video every day, is there? So yeah, people, few transfers happening. Well, not happening, but getting spoke about. Couple of names being mentioned. That Ernie's being mentioned again. Apparently the deal's there to be done if Everton want to do it. Being linked with a player last night. I woke up to a few links. Marcus Edwards and a player who plays for Monaco called Embolo, if I'm right in saying as well. Yeah. I don't think the Embolo link will have much legs, but there's been a couple of reporters today reporting about the Marcus Edwards news. Now, I have looked at this player. He looks a decent enough player. So since the 21-22 season in the Premier League, played 77 games with 15 goals and 11 assists. So basically it's a goal every 5 games. It's better than what we've got, let's put it that way. He looks like a player who looks like a David Moyes player, in my opinion, where he could probably come in and the way he plays is something that David Moyes asks of his attacking players. So he does look like he would do a job for us. I don't know enough about Embolo, as I say, and the Ernie rumours keep rumbling on and on. What's your take on the latest link that we've got, Michael? Marcus Edwards?
Yeah, so first of all, he's a player. You know, he's a ball-carrying player. You know, he'll beat a man, he can cross a ball. And, you know, you've just alluded to his 15 goals and his assists. But when you actually put that together, it's actually a goal contribution of some type, an assist or a goal, one every 3 games. Now, now, I'm not being funny. We don't get that out of Dwight McNeil, Jack Harrison. Jesper Lindstrom, for me, looked good. To be honest, the weekend I was very happy with Jesper. So, you know, I have no issue signing players, especially ones that are going to be permanent deals, players that are going to go with us forward. Lisbon have made him available, and he is a player that he will track back, he will carry the ball, and he's got that good bit of skill, that pace. He'll cause problems in the Premier League. That excites me. You know, any player that can do that excites me. And the other thing I'd say around stats, because everyone gets consumed by stats, and I do, and you do, and every other fan will always do it. They'll always look at the goals and the assists. But if you look at Lilliman and Jai from last season, it wasn't prolific. There wasn't loads of games, but look at him in the Premier League this season. He hasn't been prolific, but you can almost guarantee that in every game he causes problems. So, you know, as long as you're getting something from your wingers, you don't mind. And we haven't seen that from Jack Harrison. Lindstrom hasn't been used enough. And Dwight McNeil, although he's looked good at times, you know, the recent injury seems to have, it's took a long time, bearing in mind I don't quite know what it all is. So having another option in there would be really, really useful for me. He's an attacking player, and he does, as you rightly say, he feels like a David Moyes signing, doesn't he? He feels like a Kevin Morales to me.
Well, we've seen it in the past under David Moyes. You know, he's always liked to go with them attacking players, but attacking players who will come back and help the defence out and cover the fullback if they're a winger and slot in there if the fullback's gone further up. Do you know what I mean? And I think the way we played the other night, you could see that. I think he's available for Edwards, especially. I think it's about 12 million euros, which is probably about 10 million quid. So, you know, for stats like that, as you say, when you add them together, it sounds better than 15 goals in 77 games when you put the assists in. So he could be a good player for us. As I say, 10 million quid, it's nothing these days, is it? You know, and is this another bargain basement buy that David Moyes is used to doing when you look at his first stint in charge? Going back to, I seen a little quote today from Calvert-Lewin, whenever he's done the interview, just to carry on from the way Everton have been playing the last couple of games. And he said when David Moyes had his first game against Aston Villa, he only had a couple of days. He said, but he did see a difference and felt a difference within the team. And then you go back onto the Tottenham game where he'd had longer with the players. And even Calvert-Lewin turned around and said, it felt more like we knew what we were doing. And I think Ndai's come out with a comment like that as well. You know, we had an understanding and we knew our jobs and there was a togetherness. And listen, as we said the other night, Michael, that's 8 days that he's had to prepare the team for the Tottenham game or around about that. I'm expecting a bigger difference against Brighton on Saturday as well. But listen, that will be for another show. The match preview, couldn't even speak then, the match preview. But, I mean, is there any more players that you've seen us link with? Do you think that'll be enough if we could get Ernie in? And if we get Ernie in, do we bring Marcus Edwards in as well? I think it seems to have become a bit of a stalemate with Ernie, doesn't it? I think it's not progressing, that move, is it?
No, for me, Marcus Edwards actually makes more sense than Ernie. I'm not doubting Ernie's talent. He looks a talent. And again, we're going back to stats. But he's played enough games this season to get an assist to a goal, and we haven't seen one. And that, for me, concerns me. You know, I want to see that we're going to sign a player that at least knows where the net is.
Yeah.
And, you know, Marcus Edwards, he seems a cheaper option, slightly more experienced. And Lisbon, you know, this is a guy that has been coached by, you know, Amorim, for example, at Manchester United. Now, I'm not saying that actually has any bearing on Everton, because it doesn't, but he'll know through what Amorim's needed to be successful. He'll know what that looks like at least. I'm not saying he's going to come in and he knows the Premier League just because of Amorim, because of course he doesn't. But he has seen that Amorim has been successful in the way that he was playing last season. So he kind of knows what good looks like. So at least he can come in and try and be that. For me, honestly, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's £10 million. If it doesn't work, you sell him for £10 million in 18 months' time. It really... And people have got to remember, you know, with Tom Cannon seemingly going to, I think, was it Sunderland? Sheffield United. With him seemingly going to Sheffield United, there's a 25% buyback sell-on clause. So that was 10 million quid. We're going to get 2.5 million quid back anyway.
Yeah, so he's only really costing us 7.5 million quid. You know, and you say about he doesn't really know the Premier League. He actually, in his very, very early days, was a Tottenham. So he has trained with Premier League players. You know, he's been in and around a Premier League club. Granted, I think it was one appearance or something like that, whether that was the first team or the under-18s, 21s, 23s, or whatever it was. So he has been in and around Premier League players. So, listen, he'll know what the Premier League's like. There's not going to be any language barrier because he's English. So I think he's one of them players. He's a David Moyes player where he could probably come straight in, Michael, and do a job for us. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we need now. We need more attacking players. We need more creativity. We need our midfield to chip in with goals. And when you look, again, we're on about stats. He could come and be a flop and not score a goal, but assist 10 goals. You know, it could work like that for us. But at the end of the day, it will be better than what we're getting now.
Well, just to put this in perspective, over this season, fair enough, he hasn't played a massive amount for Sporting Lisbon by the looks of it. But last season he played 26 games. The season before he played 33. His total record is 46 goals in 246 games. You are right. He's He's a London lad. He's from Enfield, as far as I know. That's London. He can play across the front. He just makes sense. He just makes sense for 10 million quid. Like, the more you look at it, the more you research him, the more you look at it. For 10 million quid, you're probably not going to get much better. You know, and even if he gives you 5 or 6 goals a season, you know, and he's not prolific, he looks like he's got enough about him that he'll cause problems. And that's what Everton haven't done for a long time. You know, we're not going to go from being a team that played under Sean Dyche and didn't have a shot on target against Bournemouth or whoever it was. All of a sudden, their wingers scoring 20 goals a season, their centre forward scoring 30. That ain't going to happen. And you know, with no disrespect to David Moyes, it won't happen under David Moyes. That change won't happen under David Moyes. But what David Moyes will do is he'll build a team that gets into a solid foundation, a good foundation for the next step on. And a player like Edwards, 26 years old, English, knows English football, has learned a little bit of, you know, je ne sais quoi, Latino style, different skills, all that stuff from going abroad and playing in various places. It's not a negative to me, mate. So for me, yeah, I'm keen on this. And if he's real, which it looks like, you know, the sources this come from are credible sources. You know, that I think one guy was a Guardian, the other one's a Telegraph, something like that. Makes sense to make the signing. You mentioned another player, and we'll cut that off right now because it's easier to do it. But yes, Everton have been linked with. I mean, we've been linked with this lad, Mbolo, for years. We've literally been linked with him for years. It reminds me of the Niang deal. Do you remember when we were linked with him for about 15 years? You know? Yeah. So look, it's not happening. It's come out already. It's not happening. The thing that surprised me with this, if I'm being honest, is we all thought he'd go and get a striker, and he hasn't at the minute. So I'm expecting some magic on deadline day, if I'm being honest. And the signing, I think that could be, because we've also been linked with Carney Chukwuemeka from Aston Villa, who, you
Chelsea.
know, from Chelsea. Sorry, yeah, he was at Villa. Chelsea signed him a few years ago because he felt that his development would be better at Chelsea, and it's turned out that he was wrong. He's not playing. He's an incredibly talented individual. Now, if you're offering me a loan of him and Brozier goes back, then I think you spend this 10 million quid on trying to bring in a forward, and this Carney would be a loan. Or you ask for a Drewsbury Hall, because again, you know, do we need to replace Decore? Well, my opinion's yes, 100%. If you could get Drewsbury Hall for 6 months with a potential to buy in the summer, again, I'm not against that. So I think no matter what we do in this window, Everton will do some business with Chelsea. I just don't know what it is.
I think that there's a Chukwuemeka. I think that deal. So I think Chelsea bought him. Was it for 20 million? Was it, or something? Right. So they put a price tag on his head of 40 million. So they're trying to double their money. It's not going to happen because he's hardly played for Chelsea. It hasn't turned out the way he hoped and the way Chelsea hoped. I think the only way we do the deal, because Everton aren't going to spend £40 million on him, I think as it comes towards the end of the window, you know, Chelsea will. Obviously, I think Brozier's going to go back there. He's out for 3 months. Then he's got to build his ankle back up again. But let's be honest about it. Armando Brozier's not going to play for Everton again. So I think the deal that Everton and Chelsea have to come to before transfer deadline day is, even if they say, look, we'll pay the remaining 50%, we'll give you 50% and what's remaining. Chelsea could hold out and say, no, the deal is he was on loan for the season. If you want to send him back like that, then you pay the lot. And Chelsea are well in their rights to do that. So Everton are going to have to come to some sort of agreement if they want to bring him in from Chelsea. Will be a loan because Everton aren't going to pay the 40 million quid, and we see what he does. But again, we've seen enough of him to say if Everton do sign him on loan, I think he comes straight into the team as well.
Yeah, and look, I saw I saw him play for Villa, and he only played about 10, 15 times for Villa, if I remember. And he looked a player. He looked a real player, real prospect. He played for the under-20s, under-21s, I think it was. He went to Chelsea, and I must say, I expected big things from him. I did, and he just hasn't. He hasn't done it. He hasn't broke into the team really. He's a ball carrying, left-sided midfielder. He's quick. He can play in the 10. But again, I think he's played 20 odd times for Chelsea. He scored a goal. He's got more in his locker than that. And going to a club like Everton with a manager like Moyes could get it out of him.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, because I also think, if you said to me, Mike, you're stuck with your current wingers, Jesper Lindstrom and Enjoy. McNeil goes in that 10 position instead of Decore when he's back. I still probably am fine with that. I still think that keeps Everton in the Premier League, and you go again in the summer. You save the money and you go again in the summer. The point I'm making is, if that is the case, then try and do a deal for a striker somewhere, because I know Lewin was good on Sunday. He was fantastic. But I still don't trust him to score the goals just because of one appearance. What did you say? One swallow doesn't make a summer.
Yeah, and the thing is with Lewin, Michael, as I said to you, listen, again, I'll say it again, because we did get a few comments aimed at us for being two-faced over Calvert-Lewin. If people want to have a pop, for me, bigging Calvert-Lewin up after his performance the other day, if you watch the whole video, I did say we will give credit where it's due, and I thought Calvert-Lewin was good. But then off camera to you, I did say, I don't think we can rely on Dominic Calvert-Lewin to give us enough of them performances from now to the end of the season to score enough goals for us where we can go, yeah, we're happy. And he might do. Again, he might prove me wrong, and I'll be the first to hold my hands up if he goes on this magnificent run from now till May and puts performances in like that. I will shout it and give him credit from the rooftops. I just think we're embodied in what we've seen with Calvert-Lewin now over the previous couple of seasons, that it's hard for anyone to come on here or to stand up and say, yeah, I honestly believe Calvert-Lewin's back and he'll give us enough till May. It doesn't fill me with confidence from what we've seen. But again, Sunday, if we could see that, all well and good. I just don't think we can rely on him to give us that consistently.
Yeah, we've also been linked with a player called Dan Neil from Sunderland, who is a central midfielder, if I'm not mistaken. I think he might be the captain, or he's certainly, the Google picture of him, he's certainly got a captain's armband on. Now, if you're taking scouts and you're watching Sunderland, and the person you're looking at is Dan Neil, I question what you're doing, because Joe Bellingham is there. And, I know people talk about how, he can't surpass his brother and all that. And I get that. He won't surpass his brother. But Joe Bellingham is still going to be a hell of a footballer. I mean, he's a player. Now,
I think we can honestly say he's going to end up in the Premier League somewhere, isn't he?
Yeah. So for me, if you're looking at scouting Sunderland and you're going, yeah, Dan Neil looks good, what about Joe Bellingham? And then the question I ask is, Dan Neil, for example, is he going to make an impact in Everton midfield today? And the answer is probably no. And I know it sounds a bit negative, but I don't see how he gets in over Mangala or Ghana at the minute, because both of them, I know that Everton are 16th in the league, but I don't think them two have let us down too much, if I'm being honest. I think they've been quite good this season. I mean, Ghana's stats, he looks like he's number one for tackles and all sorts on some of these stats. I mean, he's 35, 36 years old, and he looks fantastic still. He's carrying the ball, he's carrying the ball up the pitch, etc. I don't think we need a central midfielder. I think this rebuild, in my opinion, has to happen in the summer. And at the minute, it's just a plaster. Just stick a plaster on the areas. Now, if you want to go and get a right back because maybe you don't like Patterson and, Ashley Young is, 39 or whatever it is, and Coleman's 35, I get that one. I don't necessarily have an issue with that one. If you want a right back, go get a right back. But for me, we need a striker. We need a striker who's going to score you some goals. And I know they're not going to be as great striker. I know it's going to be, 10 to 15 million quid. I get it. But go and get it. Go and get it. Go and make it happen, because
I think the problem, but the problem Everton have got, we've highlighted it on here many times. It's not going to be a transfer window where Everton spend a lot. So what money we have got, we're going to have to spend careful. If there is the option of another loan deal, we're going to have to use that careful for a change, instead of wasting loan deals on the likes of, Jack Harrison, a 24-month loan deal. Whoever sanctioned that, my God. So the thing is, because we can't splash the cash in January, we are going to have to be careful. We need players to come in who are Premier League ready, who know the Premier League, for example. Chukwueze from Chelsea is a perfect example. He probably gets in the majority of the teams outside the top 6. Do you know what I mean? And that's the sort of ballpark we're in at the minute. That's where we've got to look. You don't sign for Chelsea in this massive revolution that they were trying to have if you haven't got something about you. It's as simple as that. So I think the likes of him coming in, Marcus Edwards coming in, yeah, granted, he's not coming from the Premier League, but I still do think he'll be ready to step in, because I just get the feeling he's a Moyes type player. That gives you goals. You haven't spent a fortune, and you hit the nail on the head before with the likes of the lad from Sunderland. If you're going to look at players like that, look in the summer. The young players, bringing them in, as we've said on here, we need to stop all the being nicey to giving these older players contracts on big money. Get to the summer and start the rebuild. It won't happen in one summer, but if we can bring some younger players in who will have a sell-on fee, a saleable asset, because that's the way businesses are run now. And as I've said on here, that's the way the Freaking Group are going to run Everton. For me, the big one is the summer. The one in January now is plugging a couple of gaps, who can create more, can score more. It's not going to cost us a fortune, and are ready to be dropped straight into the team. That's what we need to be looking at in this window.
Agreed, completely agreed. John, I've got nothing else to add, mate. I think that was a very good show, giving our opinion there. You got anything to add?
No, let you go and get your dinner, the late dinner for you. So, yeah, that is it, folks. Don't forget, hit the like, the subscribe button. We hope you are liking the new setup. It's clearer. The voices are clearer. I think we've got that right now, we can safely say. Next video out will be the match preview for...
Brighton. Do you want me to tell you? Brighton away, John.
Brighton, Everton at the Amex on Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. So we will be back tomorrow night with that, and hopefully a bit more transfer news that we can throw into that video as well. Thanks very much for watching, folks. We will let Michael go and get his dinner. He's had a busy day, and we will see you all soon. Peace.